You're now listening to the Lycaeus Frequency. Well, it's that time again. Welcome to the Lycaeus Frequency. This week, a new co-host.
Hello, I'm Sam.
Yes. Yes, you are. We pulled you from the depth of my wine cellar. I hope you like the light. Well, I mean, it's not really all that light out, is it?
It's a little bit blinding.
Yeah, probably. Anyhow, it's that time of night, that spooky time of night. It's the smell of magic is in the air, that dark magic, that weird magic, that thing that you can't quite see at the corner of your eye. All those little things have come out to play and listen to our broadcast tonight, and I thank you for it. If you have any stories of those things, all those little things whisper in your ear, sitting in the corner of your room, and they just so happen to text you a spooky story that they so experienced, feel free to send it on to lycaeusfrequency at gmail.com. We thrive on your viewer submissions. Please, we need more. Anyhow, tonight we have a story from Tennessee. I doubt you've ever been to Tennessee, seeing as you've only lived in my wine cellar.
It's very warm down there, I have to say.
Yeah, I do pay for central heating for my wine cellar for some reason.
I appreciated it.
Yeah. Anyhow, I suppose I should get on with the story, seeing as that is this show. So, one night, my friend and I went under the Mississippi Bridge in Tennessee to do some art. We're locals to the area, so it isn't a far drive at all. We get there, and we park, and we walk along it. Keep in mind, this is at night, to find a spot that's free to tag. As we're walking along, we hear a loud noise, so we start running. We don't take chances. Whenever we heard the entire run back to the car, like it was chasing us away. A few nights later, me and the same friend, along with another, go back to attempt it again because maybe it was just an animal. Pulling up, I had a horrible feeling. But I thought, might have just been paranoia. I soon learned to trust my intuition next time. This time, we drive under the bridge and park right in front of a free spot, so we can quickly leave if we need to. We got out of the car, and my friend started on her tag, and I was holding the flashlight for her. My other friends were standing next to the car, because he was afraid. Well, he was scared of what was under there. We then heard a very loud and very close noise in the woods next to us. We ran back to the car and drove off, and once we got to the road, my friend realizes she left her phone. So we go back. As we get to where we were, my friend pulls up beside it so we don't all have to get out. When we got back to the road, I asked them if they saw what I saw. A figure like the silhouette of a human, standing behind one of the poles. My friend says when he got out to get the phone, he saw the exact same thing. He said his intuition told him not to get closer or to look away, or else maybe it would move and get closer. My other friend also said that she saw it, and she said that's why she pointed her headlights in that direction when she was pulling out. Fast forward to a few nights later, we're all at my house. My friend who got the phone goes outside for a minute to get something from her car. Well, then they come back in saying that they saw the same figure, but it disappeared quickly when he looked at it. As my friend left to go home, the one that was driving, they called me and asked if I was screaming. They said no. Well, I said no, rather. And she said it sounded like me or another woman screaming. And she says when she got to her house that she smelled a terrible smell. So I wasn't staying at my house alone after that. So I go to my other friend's house, the one who had the phone, and we go to get cleansed by their mother, who's been a Wiccan for a very long time. The cleansing didn't work. The smoke blew away from us. But as we were standing on the porch doing so, I look across the street to the woods, and I see it again. Standing there, just looking at us. I look at my friend. He nods his head to confirm that he sees the same thing. Since then, I've gotten a protection spell done by a strong witch in my family, and haven't seen it since. That's it. Thank you, Tennessee. Now, I am curious, what do you think this thing might be in your limited experience of the world?
You know, to me it sounds kind of like a shade.
Shade. Now, wherever did you get that idea?
The grimoire.
Ah, yes. Forgot I left it down there. Huh. I should keep better track of my things. Anyhow, let's say you were this person, right? You're out there, you're with your friends, tagging friends. Funny. Anyways, you're out there, you're with your friends. I'm very curious as to, well, what you would have done. This thing staring at you from the dark, from the woods, from the edge of the lamplight.
Well, as I've lived in a wine cellar my entire life, I don't have many friends, but if I was in this situation, I'd probably do the same thing with the witch.
Right. The witch. Yeah, no, that's, I mean, honestly, most of the time, it's a fair bet. If you're not a religious person, it's a fair bet to go to your local pagan or witch. Seeing as not all of us believe in the divine truth that is the Bible.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's how it's pronounced, right? Sure hope so. Anyhow. Tennessee. An interesting place for a cryptid encounter. I have found that the East Coast tends to have the most recorded accounts of cryptids. Though around here, it almost seems that everyone I meet has a story. Though none of them have sent them in as viewer submissions. Cough, cough, send them in. Well, I dare say, let's look into the grimoire a bit further for that whole business. Who knows, maybe that is some form of a shade. Of course, we can't leave you hanging. We can't let you just sit in silence and wait for us. So, a musical interlude. Everyone loves a good musical interlude, right? Sure hope so, because here comes one. Well, that was Drink the Water by Justin Cross. And well, it appears my little wine cellar goblin may have misspoke earlier.
Yeah, you know.
You fool.
Wine cellars, it's hard to learn down there. It's really hard to read. To go by intuition.
Right. Anyways, spooks, it seems, is what we're looking at. Though the common parlance for whatever that was is known as a hide behind. I reckon it is a subspecies or a manifestation of what would be known as a spook. A spook is an entity that gains power through their prey's fear or incitation to act on anger with violence and immorality. A spook's range of abilities and their potency increases with the duration of the encounter, and spooks can reside anywhere, though they often seek out places plentiful with negative emotional potential. Their presence unnerves and fills those with it, those nearby it rather, with dread. And they must consume the flesh, bones, or blood of a victim once per cycle, which is about anywhere from a year to 100 years. Or it'll die. They'll also attack and eat each other. Very strange creatures. But sounds fitting. A hide behind. I mean, I'd be pretty spooked if I looked at something and it disappeared.
I have some experience with that, living in the wine cellar, you know.
Oh, really?
It's infested down there, man. You have to keep your spooks
wits
in check.
Yeah, your spooks in check, your wits about you.
Yes.
More than just rats in the wine cellar.
Had to fight him off with potatoes, man.
Did I leave? I guess I must have left potatoes down there.
You didn't really care for your wine cellar very much.
Well, no. You were living down there. I didn't need to. It was your living space. It's your business. Even though it's mine, and I do collect wine from time to time.
Yeah, I'm not the one who put the potatoes in there.
No, it was probably the previous occupant.
I'm not the only occupant?
You thought you were the only occupant. That's
I feel
very funny.
cheated.
Cheated. Really?
Yes.
Now, why is that? I mean, surely I have to have someone down there to keep the spooks in check and my wine organized.
You know, I was never told that that's what my job was.
I never told you anything, but I assumed you figured it out.
I kind of just assumed I was in hell.
Oh. Well, that's rather unfortunate.
Nice wine cellar, though.
Yeah, in its own way.
Get used to the potatoes after a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the entities.
Yeah, speaking of those entities, you ever seen something like this?
Many a time, many a time.
Huh.
They like to hide around corners. Peek out when you're not
How
expecting
many
it.
corners could I have possibly had in that one? That doesn't seem like there are that many.
It's a maze in the dark.
Oh, yes, I guess I do suppose it's amazing in the dark. How do you even see anything? What little did I leave candles down there? I feel like I left candles down there.
Nocturnal exposure.
Oh. My, these studio lights must hurt then.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
My eyes are bleeding.
Well, I suppose we'll have to clean that up later. We got a broadcast to do. If you have any stories of strange things, like, I don't know, somebody's eyes bleeding for no particular reason, definitely not seeing some eldritch horror that came down from the sky and only you could see it, feel free to send them in. lycaeusfrequency at gmail.com. Got a shill. You know that. You got a shill.
Please, God, send submissions.
Please.
Please.
That's all we ask. We give you this place to tell your strange stories. All you need to do is tell them. Send them in. Anyhow, spooks. What? Now, I know you used to do things before the wine cellar. I mean, you didn't just appear as a fully grown wine cellar goblin.
Yes, yes.
What other varieties of spooks have you seen outside the little dang hole that I keep my wine in?
When I was but a young woman, back before my goblin days,
I see.
I saw many things in my dreams, awake. They like to watch.
I do suppose that is unnerving in its own right. Just an eye or a thing that you know is watching.
You get used to it.
I mean, I suppose you would after a time.
It's like an old friend that could eat you at any moment.
I don't think friends tend to eat you.
They don't?
I don't think so. Not in my experience. I'm usually the one eating them.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then again, I'm not a usual type of guy, am I? I have a wine cellar goblin.
Someone has to be the eater, and someone has to be the ET.
Or the eaten, perhaps.
My goblin days didn't really serve me well.
Clearly they did, but they did serve me well. I have all of my wines organized by color, and year. It's very nice. I appreciate your work.
I can't discern color anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you just like hold it up, and you're like, yeah, this one feels like a red.
Intuition.
Intuition. Follow your intuition. That's what that story said. You got to follow your intuition. Yep. So how does it feel to be outside in this radio station?
Uncomfortable. Open.
I can see how that would be strange for someone who's so used to living in very tight quarters.
Yeah, I'm really used to the warmth, the comfort of constantly throwing potatoes at unexpected visitors.
Yes, unexpected visitors. Now, I do hope we don't find ourselves with any unexpected visitors tonight.
I sure hope not.
Though, looking around the quiet quarters here, I can't help but think that maybe there is one. Hiding in the ceiling, hiding beneath the floor, hiding around that corner. Hiding in the kitchen. Hiding anywhere, really. I mean, for all I know, there could be one right behind me. But that's no matter. It hasn't eaten me yet, so I'll be fine.
So, you've been asking me a lot of questions, but you haven't said if you have any stories about spooks.
Oh, spooks. Spooks. Well, when I was a young man, a long time ago, I had this room. I lived in a little room that my grandfather built me. And it was a nice room. It was my other grandpa's before me. And it was his workshop originally, but it was retrofitted to be my bedroom. We had put in my old bunk bed, an old cathode TV. Those were simpler days. And I always had a visitor. They never spoke. They never came anywhere closer than 30 feet to me, but they were always there, out of the corner of my eye, out the window, above me while I slept. But they were always watching. I never knew what for. I talked to my mother about it. She's a practitioner of the arts, and, well, she didn't have much to say about it except ignore it. And, well, after a time, I learned to ignore it. Though its staring presence, its faint black outline, just was always in the corner of my room. Whenever I slept, I'd look, and there it would be. I never did end up naming it, though. In later years, I thought maybe it was my grandfather coming back to say hello. Though ghosts aren't real. Things may imitate those who once lived. But I think those who are dead are gone from us and only can be imitated by those strange things that want to take advantage of that identity, whatever it may be.
Do you still see it?
Only on cold, moonless nights, when I walk about the woods, do I see anything like it, really. On cold, moonless nights, that's when they come out to play. That's when they have the most power, for there is no light. And so, you cannot tell if it stands right in front of you, or if it stands 30 feet away. You can only listen, and hope it doesn't eat you.
Sounds like you have a lot of experience with eating people, though.
Maybe. That's for another time. Eating people is a very long-winded subject.
Interesting.
Like pork, long pork. Very interesting.
Didn't get much exotic foods in the wine cellar.
You can make a lot of things with potatoes, though.
Not really.
Well, you got mashed potatoes, you got latkes, you've got fried potatoes, baked potatoes.
What do you expect I'd fry the potatoes with?
I think I threw a microwave down there. Oh, fry it. No.
The microwave was
You're clever.
good.
You're clever. I'm sure you could have figured it out.
Summon a demon, boil it on its skin. I mean, that's boiled potatoes, though.
Yeah. No, I dare say you're clever. I think you would have figured it out, but perhaps I was wrong.
Is that a challenge?
Sure. Maybe I'll let you out if you can bring me fried potatoes.
That sounds like a fair deal.
I'll have to think about it.
It's lonely in the wine cellar.
Clearly, it's not. Just.
They're not one for talking.
No, not one for conversation.
Not really. They kind of just watch, and if I throw potatoes at them, they hiss loudly.
Have you tried to talk to them?
That's fair.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just misunderstood.
I don't think so, but you could try.
I could try.
That'd certainly be interesting. You know, maybe next time I have you on these blinding lights, you'll have a story of talking to one of these things.
Yeah, maybe.
That could be interesting. Certainly could be a very interesting segment for this show. Talking with the spooks.
I wonder what they'd have to say.
I do also wonder what they'd have to say. But simultaneously, I don't want to find out, personally.
I don't know if they could even speak our language.
Maybe not, but I'd like to think they can.
Intuition.
Intuition says they can't. Well, I can't argue with that. Well, I could, but that'd be less of the point. You familiar with the cask of Amontillado?
I don't think I am.
Good. We'll keep it that way. Yes.
Are you going to elaborate on that point?
No, I think I'll just hold that here. Wherever I'm gesturing to right now, that none of you can see. But they know.
Yes.
That hole where my heart's supposed to be. Somewhere in there. You can fit a lot of things in there, I'm sure.
Pretty big hole.
Is it? I mean, I suppose it is. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, I still talk, I still breathe, I still bleed. Right? I'd hope so. For your sake.
You also still trap people in your cellar.
This is the one time. Well, no, it was more than once. I suppose, now that I think about it.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That it is. I think I can count on my 6-fingered hand how many times I've put someone in my cellar. For later.
Oh, for later.
Well, yes.
You're not going to hurt me or anything.
For your sake, I hope not.
I would too. You know, that door is not locked. Could just go fry some potatoes.
Oh, you could. You certainly could. But all that light. It's going to singe those poor little eyes of yours.
At this time of night?
Oh, well, yes. Have you never heard of a wanderlight?
A wanderlight?
Yes, a wanderlight. Those strange little orbs that float out in the woods.
Like wisps?
Sort of like wisps, yes. Except we're not as posh as the English to call them will-o'-the-wisps. They're wanderlights here in America. Makes sense. Simple name.
Simple Americans.
Well, we're to the point.
I wouldn't want to get caught up with one of those.
I don't suppose you would. Sure, you'd be out of that basement, but...
I don't think...
Where to?
I don't think my eyes could handle it.
I don't think they could either. How unfortunate. When are you going to fry potatoes without any light?
Demons. Very useful.
Very useful, yes. Well, I suppose that bet is on, then. You bring me fried potatoes, I'll let you out, of course. That's assuming you want to leave.
I do.
It's bright outside. Think about it. Bring it in, breathe it out, let it run through your little mind. could be more of a curse than a blessing. Or at least that's what they say about knowledge. And I dare say the outside world is a lot more knowledge that's in that little basement.
I do say that you're right. I would like more privileges, though.
Well, more privileges comes with more responsibilities. But I don't suppose we should be discussing that on the air. Instead, we'll play something from a little band called The Dead South. Here they come with That Bastard Son. And we're back. Well, now that we've gotten our little discussion of that out of the way, I do suppose we ought to move on to, well, whatever the hell I was talking about earlier. That black thing in the corner of my room, that shadow. I looked into it a little bit in the grimoire while our conversation was relatively brief. Found an entry on shadow people, shades, murk ghosts, the mass, the black mass. They apparently were once people who, through one means or another, tried to bring things through from the plane of the paranormal, that shadowy place, and were horribly disfigured in the process. And so they hide as shadows. Isolationist, quiet, lonely, seeking companionship. Any experiences with them?
Not particularly, but does that sound like something your grandpa would do?
No, I dare say not. He was a simple fisherman. It's odd. Though, I don't know how old that house is. Who owned it before them, and before them, and before them? If anyone. Or perhaps it was built on some strange place, with strange geometries and old rites. I have yet to find out.
From what I've learned in my little knowledge of the world, this place is very haunted.
Oh, I dare say it definitely is very haunted. But by what? By who? And why? All questions yet to be answered. Though, I dare say may have something to do with some very strong emotions running in the family.
That wouldn't surprise me. You're one for very strong emotions.
Yeah? Is it really that obvious?
Oh, very. Even with my simple goblin mind, I can just see all of the emotions radiating off of you.
So it seems you have the sight then.
Yes, I gained a lot of intuition from the wine cellar.
No, I mean the sight. If you can see the emotion flowing on someone, you have the sight.
The sight?
Yes, you can see into things that people don't usually. Most people can't see emotions flowing off of someone, unless that was metaphorical.
No, I can see the colors.
Yes, I do suppose you can see auras then.
Yes. Yours is wobbly.
Now, I don't know what that means. Don't assume you do either. Though it doesn't sound good.
In my experience, has to do with strong emotions.
Oh, well, that's good to know. I wonder what strong emotion is fueling me now. Because I don't feel it. It's not fear. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's joy. Hard to say. But, what can I say? Oh no, I do know what I can say. I would say that joy might stem from getting a viewer submission.
Yes.
Lycaeusfrequency@gmail.com. I'm just going to keep saying it every 10 minutes.
Please.
Please?
Please.
If you send one in, maybe I'll give this one a candle.
I am but a simple wine cellar goblin.
I not need much, but a candle.
And viewer submissions.
And viewer submissions. We all thrive off of viewer submissions. Everyone in the little house on the hill.
Good eatin'.
Good eating. Them viewer submissions, them's is good eating.
It seems the goblin aspect of me has revealed itself.
All those demons that you've been summoning have, one of them is finally echoed out of your body.
It's hard to keep them at bay. I'm struggling every day. That rhymes.
Hey, look at you. You're getting better at this. Windows. They're strange things. You can see out of them, see into them, though they often are portrayed in media as symbolic things, as entries like doors. Windows are, in their own way, doors, I suppose, both in the literal sense and the metaphysical sense. As looking through a window, you might see something on the other side. The other side being the other plane. Watch out for windows when it comes to shadow people. There might be a little hole in your room that's growing wider and longer. It's becoming a bit of a window you can see them through. Don't go in. Or so I've heard. I mean, if you're the adventurous type, go in by all means. We might not see you again. Though, if you do come back out, I would love to hear about it. That sounds very fascinating. Not something I'd want to do myself, but, you know. I am a collector of stories.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yes. I suppose it did, but curiosity also is very helpful for knowledge. Look at Mary Curie. Sure, she died, but we found out a lot about radiation.
That's true.
Yeah. Can be good, but think about it first.
Something else that I've found is particularly worrisome with shades is mirrors.
Oh, mirrors. Another kind of window, except you can't see out of it. You just see what's looking into it.
So many things can come out of mirrors.
Yes, indeed. I've covered all the mirrors here in the studio for that reason alone.
So easy to get lost in them.
Yes, I dare say.
Walk right in and never find your way back.
Yeah, though they are useful tools.
Happened to my great-grandma.
Ah, it's unfortunate.
Granny Smith named the apple after her.
Or so the story goes, right?
Yes.
Huh. Yeah, mirrors, they're very interesting things. On the one hand, they allow you to see things about yourself that you can't see normally. But on the other hand, well, you can walk right through them. Or other things could walk right out of them and into the world in which we wake.
They're very useful for scrying, but it's dangerous.
As is all magic. A dangerous thing. What you put online is what you'll get back out. But if you put something in that the universe or whatever controls all magic out there, what capricious god controls magic, if they dislike it, well, you'll get it back 10 times.
That is how the saying goes.
That is how the saying goes. Now, I do wonder what would walk out of two mirrors that are pointed at each other. They say don't point two mirrors at each other because then they'll start scheming. But what would walk out of that hallway, that long hallway, if you've ever done it?
Well, before my days in the wine cellar, I had these two ornate mirrors in this small one-bedroom apartment. I had a small cat. His name was Shadow. Haven't seen him since you kidnapped me.
Well, you haven't been many places since then.
Mildly upset about that.
He's fine.
Well,
I swear.
one day I was experimenting with the arts, as a young woman does. And I decided, why not try mirror magic? I had heard that it was a powerful aspect of magic.
Tool.
Yes.
A means to an end.
A way to project yourself.
I suppose. What was the end?
Well, I put the two mirrors together, and everything seemed fine. I did my small blood sacrifice.
Blood sacrifices.
And I drew some sigils, and that was it for the first day.
Nah, but this gets worse, doesn't it?
Yes, small, strange occurrences started happening. Things falling off walls, keys going missing, the sound of someone that you know, but they were never there in the room. But it all came to an end a few weeks later when I walked into my room to find a close friend of mine, eyes rolled back in his head, completely seized to death in front of one of the mirrors without a reflection.
Odd.
Had to move out after that.
Yeah, what'd you do with the mirrors?
I left them for the next owner.
It's rather unfortunate for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, quite. Though, perhaps I'll have to reacquire those mirrors. They sound like something useful.
If you're into making people seize to death, I don't see why not.
I mean, a collection of curios is not complete without a cursed mirror. Or two or three.
Is that why all the mirrors are covered?
Well, not here in the studio. These are mundane mirrors. But the ones I keep out of your reach, the ones I keep out of many reach, my private collection, those are covered for a very different reason. If nothing can see out, then nothing can climb out. And I'd like to keep it that way. Until a time comes that I need it.
Going to start an army of mirror creatures anytime soon?
I have no reason to. Yet.
I sure hope you don't find a reason to.
Well, if you have an idea of a reason, don't send it to me. I'll figure one out. But if you do have a story about a mirror creature, send it my way. lycaeusfrequency@gmail.com.
Please, God.
The studio is creaking now. Faintly. I wonder who is here.
Maybe your grandpa.
In the studio.
They say ghosts follow
I
people
suppose
around.
they do if it is in fact a ghost, as you say.
Attach themselves.
Assuming that ghosts are real and not something trying to pretend to be that person you know, that person you loved. That person who once lived here.
Many stories of that.
Yes, quite. Huh. What was the ends to your mirror magic? What were you looking for from it?
Well, there are many powerful things you can do with blood magic. I was looking for money, success, fame, knowledge. I wanted to know what was waiting for me behind that mirror, behind the veil, when I finally drifted off into a peaceful slumber. But instead I got hauntings.
No. And a wine cellar.
Yeah, love the wine cellar.
It's not all bad.
I don't know. Those potatoes, they really start to smell bad.
Thought they started to grow.
Sometimes, but others they just fester and rot.
Had
a little potato plant down there. His name was Barley.
You named a potato plant Barley.
Yes. I had to find little bits of joy.
There is a reason I sent you down in that cellar. And it certainly wasn't for your creativity. Yes, quite.
Yes.
Well, I suppose I ought to show you a little bit of where we get our viewer submissions. It just so happens we have one tonight from an old friend. But of course, the details are a little fuzzy. So, while we look into this crystal ball, I suppose I ought to play you one last song for the night. And what will that song be? And we're back. So, let's get to that little story that my dear friend Raiden sent my way. So, for backstory, my friend has a small patch of woods in his backyard. It's neat. It's got a lot of places to hide. This friend was the DM of my D&D group, and we played at his place. We had a game that we would play called... Back in the day, it was called a witch hunt. But now, I've changed the name. Times have changed. But, you go out in the woods and hide. I'm sure some of you know this already, but you'd hide while another player tried to find you with a lantern, and often the lantern was candlelit, which, yes, indeed it was. It was very interesting logistically, but that's besides the point. Well, this night it was extra dark out. You couldn't see in front of you. It was pitch black. And normally you could see like a little bit. The woods filtered in a little bit of the moonlight, but no, there was no moon this night. And this time it was extra quiet. At least for him, at least for me. Well, except for these three parts. One, I heard a strange sound in front of me. It sounded like my friend. It spoke in my friend's voice, but I had a feeling it wasn't him. Second is, well, I heard my own self coughing from dabbing a pen. Which, hearing your own self do something is certainly strange. And the third, we all heard from one end of the woods. Who's out there? God damn it, who's out there? Who are you? And then, dead silence. A few minutes went by. It seemed like forever. I looked around. I began to move, but I was kind of loud. But it seems nothing. Up until I saw a laser pointed directly at me. And then my friend Sebastian comes out of nowhere. We meet back with the others and go back to the house. Now, part of that can be very readily explained by a neighbor.
Yes.
With a laser-sighted weapon of some kind, or a laser pointer. For the intimidation factor, hard to say. The other parts, I'm not so certain. Shadow people aren't known to speak.
Yes, the coughing is what really gets me.
Personally, I find voices to be stranger than coughing, but coughing nonetheless is strange, especially when you know it's you, but not you.
Exactly.
Well, I don't go back in those woods anyways. Not anymore, not after that. As much as the creepy things out there are certainly deterrents, a person with a laser-sighted weapon is certainly more of a deterrent, I would say.
That is fair. That is fair.
Because as much as the paranormal is dangerous and odd. A bullet is much more dangerous.
Yes.
Well, I suppose that wraps up the show for tonight. Back into the wine cellar with you.
No, please. I don't want to go back.
Well, bring me fried potatoes and maybe I'll let you out. This has been all for the Lycaeus Frequency. Please, do come back and listen for our next episode next week. Same bat time, same bat place.
KFUG Crescent City 101.1
and a 101.1 brothers and sisters.
Another night and another love. I'm hanging on, we push and shove. Possession is the motivation.